Baba Zoom meeting tomorrow from 6:30 to 8.
Yes, we will be recording it, and we're recording this one tonight too.
Okay, great. And they'll be up on the YouTube or something?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Great.
Yes, it
Thank
will.
you.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. All right, so we're going to pass it over to our main person today, Eric Teperman. I'm so happy to have him here. I just love your poetry, Eric, and I'm so delighted that you've agreed to share it with us. So thank you for that.
I'm glad that you want to listen to it. And I thank you for inviting me back again. I tell you the truth, and by the way, I want to welcome Elaine Cox.
Yes, hello, Elaine.
Longtime Baba friend. And anyway, I know this is the title of this night is Mystical Poetry, and I have to say I've never thought of my poems as being mystical poems. However, I'm very happy to accept your invitation. And if anybody tonight gets anything of Baba from them, then the evening and Baba will have been served. So let's see, this is I never wear glasses at the computer, but I may have to read what I'm reading. So let's see how this works. Okay. Poetry has been called the cadence of perfected speech. It has been called the most stripped down and distilled of all the arts. If there is any such thing as real poetry, real art, then it is the movement of real love in life itself. Even art done in the obeyance of love becomes vacant when not acted on and lived up to. Meher Baba is the living of pure love at all times in ordinary life. He is also much, much more than that. In fact, infinitely more than that. But by being that, he allows us in our life with him, in our dance with him, in our every interaction with him, to become aware of our intimate connection with the infinite which he is and which he says we are also. We become entwined with him through love, and our connection to his reality is felt through our love and obedience to his love for us. These poems are nothing but one small part of the response Meher Baba has awakened and prompted within me. The vast armies of death sent out by the great emperor himself stand outside my narrow door. There is no need to thrust the door down or even to knock. I will bring out everything I have and everything I am. Distribute it all amongst yourselves and give nothing back. I have no use for anything I've accumulated, not even the strand of hair from the emperor himself. Take it in an amulet, so from the neck of some lucky soldier it will hang. This man is a slave now, by the emperor's own decree, and even the romantic notion of a love locket can be dispensed with, since he himself is mine. Please don't misunderstand me. I mean no impudence by that, and I make no pretense of purity. It's just that I'm not really suited to be anything but his slave. And perhaps I'm not really even fit to be that. But my ongoing faults now pour in rivers between his feet, the only one capable to free me from a lifetime of misconceptions. You need not send word back to him with couriers. He already knows I am his. Tell me, how do you greet a man who has all galaxies spinning gently in his vest pocket? The only thing that keeps you from falling at his feet as he walks towards you is the love. The love that has so completely engulfed you that you don't even know when you were swamped by its wave. You may not even know it is love that suspends you, but how else can you converse with this man unless he supports you? This is not something you know when you meet him, but believe me, I know it now. And now, what is now? Now is when this man, who is a man and so much more than a man, does the most amazing thing. Instead of washing all my wants away, he is letting me want everything I've always wanted. But he is slowly, slowly putting his name and putting his face on my every desire and my every want. I am in thrall of his hand as he keeps me in check while these wants and addictions are pulling night and day. But he is the master of all addictions, and my loving debt of service to him can never be repaid. Yet even if it could, I would stay by his side, awaiting his every word forever and dwelling in his silence.
Could I
Go ahead.
Could I ask you to read that one again, please? Would anybody mind? I would like to hear that again.
Okay, if there are no objections, then you can tell me if I did better the second time from the first. Okay. Tell me, how do you greet a man who has all the galaxies spinning gently in his vest pocket? The only thing that keeps you from falling at his feet as he walks towards you is the love. The love that has so completely engulfed you that you don't even know when you were swamped by its wave. You may not even know it is love that suspends you, but how else can you converse with this man unless he supports you? This is not something you know when you meet him, but believe me, I know it now. And now, what is now? Now is when this man, who is a man and so much more than a man, does the most amazing thing. Instead of washing all my wants away, he is letting me want everything. Then slowly, slowly, he is putting his name and putting his face on my every desire and my every want. I am in thrall of his hand as he keeps me in check while these wants and addictions are pulling night and day. But he is the master of all addictions, and my loving debt of service to him could never be repaid. And even if it could, I would stay by his side, awaiting his every word forever and dwelling in his silence.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Yes.
Friends, you asked me, what do I want in this life? If I told you that my wants for years and years had piled up in endless disarray, you might know now why my wants have become so very mundane. I want to know what Meher Baba's skin smelled like. I want to know the sound of his two hands clapping so that he can tell me to do something. I want to know what it is like to look into his eyes when he tells me I have failed him. And I want to know that he will not send me away in spite of that. Have you ever wanted something more than what you want? If you can understand that, then you will know what I want. And it's time to take a break from too much poetry. And here is a story of one of my visits to India. I'm not going to take a quiz about how many of you or who amongst you has been, but for those of you who remember Soros Canteen, which was right across the street or right across the alley from the original trust office in Amidst. Soros Canteen was started by Adi's cousin, or Soros, who from that big Irani family, of whom the mother, Gulmai, was the first. And then her son Adi became very intimate with Baba, became his secretary later on. Soros, Soros was involved. Rustam, Adi's brother, married Meher's sister at Baba's command, at Baba's request, because Rustam wanted to stay single. Anyway, it was a family utterly devoted to him. Soros, through Baba's will, became a very successful man. This was not Soros's desire. He wanted to just be with Baba, but Baba had him do all these things. He became at later time, and people can correct me if I'm getting the story wrong, he became mayor of Ahmednagar several times. He owned the Soros Motor Works, which is right next to the trust office. And the trust office itself was the Irani family home, Kaikrashru and Gulmai's home. And it was one of the two places in Ahmednagar that Baba used to come and stay when he was passing through, that and the Satha home of the of Akbar Press. Now, because Baba did so much traveling when he was centered in Meherabad, and Soros actually opened the Soros Canteen specifically so that Baba could have a place with his mandali to stop and refresh themselves with a quick cup of tea or whatever other, refreshments that they had there. And he opened this business specifically to serve Baba. And the only way to have it ready all the time like that was to open it as a business. So anyway, Soros Canteen, after Baba was gone, dropped his body, is a place that the early Baba lovers who came after Baba has dropped his body would go for garlic toast and God knows what else. Everybody had their own favorites. Anyway, this is an interesting story about one time when I was, well, you'll decide if it's interesting or not. We were there when the bus was on the way back from Meherazad to Meherabad. And everybody was in there refreshing themselves. And I was at the counter, and I can't remember what I was having. Probably, I used to like a banana milkshake or something. I don't remember. But I'm a dairy nut, so it had to be something like that. The man who by that time owned it was named Godridge. And there was an Indian fellow about 5 feet down to my left who was having this gloriously pink milkshake. And I said to Godridge, "What is that?" And he says, "Oh, that is Gulkhan milkshake." And the fact that it's milk, automatically, I'm halfway there anyway. So I said, "What is a Gulkhan milkshake?" And he says, "It's a rose milkshake. It's most refreshing, the most refreshing thing." And I said, "Wow, could you make one for me? Do you have enough stuff to?" He says, "Yes, I make it right now." So he whizzes up a rose milkshake for me. And for those of you who like rose flavored foods, of which I am one, I'm looking forward to this with great anticipation. So he finishes it, sets it before me, and of course, it's so delicious. It's like rose paradise. So I'm enjoying this, and I'm almost near the bottom, and the bus starts honking the horn, which means we have to get going. So I get down near the bottom, and at the bottom are all these pulverized rose petals, fresh rose petals, which is what was put into the blender. So I put it down, and I'm getting up, and Godrich, he says, no, that's the best part. You have to have that. That's the best part. So I didn't even stop to think. I just grabbed it, boom, downed it, and got on the bus. Of course, I wasn't even thinking that fresh roses is the same thing as eating a fresh vegetable or fruit that's not been washed. And that night, I had a case of the runs. And I realized my mistake then. Now, maybe it would have happened even if I didn't eat all the rose petals at the bottom, but I always thought that the fact that I did that, that ensured it. Anyway, the follow-up to this story is, the next day at Meherazad, I was sitting on one of the benches outside Mandalay Hall, and I must have been looking pretty pale or something, because one of us came over to me and she says, Eric, are you all right? And I said, well, I had a bit of a rough night, and I told her about, my digestive thing, the bowel thing. And she says, wait right here. I have just the thing for it. And Arnavas, now this is 1977. So it was not my first trip. She went off, and she comes back with a goblet of this mixture. And I said, what is that? And she said, this is arrowroot with lemongrass. It was warm. She made lemongrass tea, which I had never had before. And then she slowly mixed arrowroot into it, which for those of you that cook know that it's a thickener. But she said, this is the best thing for a problem stomach. And so I drank that, and sure enough, it felt wonderful going down. And to this day, I continue to make lemongrass tea, although without the arrowroot. And whenever I have it, I think about Arnavas and how one of the Mandalay was making something for me because I was not feeling well without my asking or anything. It's just, it's a memory for which I have no description. Okay. Friends, let me ask you, do you think that when the Great One comes, that it's the herald of a golden age? With the coming of this man, that with the coming of this man, that all men will shake hands and embrace? I tell you, when the man of love walks this world each time, that's when our troubles really begin. We see only our neighbor's faults, almost never our own, but the beautiful one. He holds the mirror of the soul, and in it we can see his face. And then finally, we can also see ourselves and our destiny all belonging to him. Whether it's war in the cities or peace in the valley, it's only a byproduct of him sitting down and sharing our bread. How can we begin to really love until he destroys our illusions about what is real? There is something beautiful in every culture, but I am a refugee from them all. Although you can stumble upon my beloved in every temple, every mosque and church, every house and every cupboard and closet. He lives on the outskirts of every city and every town. His tent is open to all who come, but don't expect them to follow your customs just because he may honor them. I love my beloved because he is free, really free, and not just freedom as you may know it, or even imagine it. I love my beloved because he is the friend to all, and beholden to no one. And this makes me utterly beholden to him. He is my friend because he protects me, even while working for my real freedom. And when he has swept aside all shreds and remainders of everything that I have ever wanted, I would not leave his side, but beg him to allow me to stay. Even though the friend of our hearts is walking about, we all cling death-like to the familiar. Anybody and anything, we want to love someone, and we want love from everyone. Each of us walks down the street thinking, I hope I see someone who will be for me, someone who is mine. And our friend says, why not me? God himself smiles and has put on his clothes, and he says, why not me? Even after that, we still cling to the remnants of our desires, the residue of our desires, even the shadows of our desires. His love for us stokes the flames of our love for him, even as we swirl in the ashes of all of our desires, waiting, desperate for the breath of his mouth to clear the air, to clear our minds, to clear our hearts forever, so we can love him even more than we want to love him, so we can finally love him as he keeps loving us. We are so very blind that the Lord himself has taken form, so when we look up in anguish from our loneliness, we can see his form, his glorious face, instead of the endless stream of our fantasies.
Really, thank you. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that's great.
Excellent.
Really enjoyed it.
Jai Baba. Well, I mentioned the Sasta family before, so here's a little story about Nashawan Sata, whose first meeting with Baba in 1923, shortly after Baba arrived at Meherabad, as a result of Nashawan and his brother seeing Baba that day. This entire Sata family, should I say the Sata clan, came to him. The entire Jesawala clan came to him. The entire Kerawala clan came to him. The entire Damiana clan came to Baba, all as a result of Nashawan and his brother taking a walk down Dand Road to see this Parsi saint, as he was known in Ahmednagar at the time. Baba was not known in Ahmednagar much.
No.
Anyway, by the time we all got there, Ashawan, who, by the way, this place that he lived at, Akbar Press, and press there doesn't mean printing press, it means a mill, you know, a place where they would grind things. It's a press, you're pressing. So it took me a long time to find that out. I had no idea it meant that for many years. I used to wonder, where are they? I guess they don't print anything anymore. It just still has the name. Anyway, by the time we got there, meaning our generations of people, out of his desperation to serve his beloved and seeing that there was almost no place for Baba's lovers to stay in Ahmednagar, there was the Sublok Hotel, there was the Ashoka Hotel. For those with a little bit of money, there was, oh God, Elaine, help me.
Well, Godrej had a little hotel right at the railroad tracks where the road going into Nagar crossed it. And we stayed there with the kids.
Yeah,
There
was also a place, well, it doesn't matter. There weren't that many places to
Vilu
stay.
Villa. It's Vilu Villa. That was, if you said you had a little bit of money, it would have been Vilu Villa.
That's it. Thank you, Gerald. That's the place, Vilu Villa. Yeah.
There was also the Dowlett Lodge by 1977.
Yeah, Dowlett Lodge was another. I was
How
going to
many
mention. The Dowlett was a charming, lovely place, right near the trust office. Anyway, there really weren't a lot of places to stay. So to amplify the number of beds available in Ahmednagar, Nashwan built what he called Meher Colony. And I don't remember how many rooms there were, but he had, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 beds available. Anyway, that was a wonderful place to stay because you were it was almost like staying in Baba's intimate family there with the Satha family. And what a wonderful place to grow up in Baba in, you know, to go to India and then stay there. Anyway, I became especially fond of being there and of Nashwan, and Nashwan, for reasons that we'll never know, became a little fond of me as well. And we used to take walks, and one day he says, come on, let's take a walk to the farm. And it seems he had a farm out behind Akbar Press, and that this man was already in his early 80s by the time we had arrived there. And this was he was a little guy, but he was a very vigorous 80-year-old, certainly far more vigorous than I am now. And so we went walking out in the back into this farm, and he was growing cotton. And he says, have you ever seen cotton growing before? So I said, well, only in pictures. And he brought us right there to the farm, and he plucks a cotton boll off of the plant. And he says, here, feel this. And it was like silk. It was so soft. It is this really fine, what do they call, long fiber Egyptian staple cotton. You know, it's the best cotton. So I'm just amazed at the quality of the cotton. It's just so wonderful. And he says, you know, once the Americans sent us cottonseed, you know, free. Well, I guess it's part of their ongoing program, whether it was care packages or their agricultural help that they gave to third world nations. And he says, we tried growing it, but it was really very poor quality cotton that they sent us. So we never grew it again. It was just that one year. I still remember the softness of that cotton. So then we went back, and in addition to the running Meher Colony, which had Kali the cook, who used to cook for Baba and who taught me how to make the best chapatis in the world. And also Dun Satha, whom some of you, if you haven't met her, might have seen her in one of the film clips. She had muscular dystrophy. Muscular dystrophy. And there's a film clip of when Baba was giving darshan one time, somebody's lifting her bodily up to Baba so that she could touch him and he could touch her. That's Dun Satha, who was Erich's first cousin. Nashwan was Erich's uncle.
Dun was Roshan's sister.
Right. And Gulmai, not Gulmai, Gaimai, Erich's mommy, was Nashwan's sister, right? Like getting it all right? Okay. So yeah. It's
called Nashwan Mama, which
means uncle on the maternal side.
Right.
And Kaka, like Padre Kaka, means uncle on the paternal side. So in addition to opening up Meher Colony, he also was on the board of an orphanage for boys. There was also right over the hedge from where Akbar Press was, and we went over there, and across Station Road, he ran a free homeopathy clinic where anybody who wanted could come in and he would treat them homeopathically for free. So this is how this 80-plus-year-old man spent his days every day doing all these things. Nashawaan Mama.
He was a very gifted homeopath, as a matter of fact.
He was. I remember
Incredible knowledge.
he learned homeopathy when he was in jail, when he had still been part of the freedom movement. And Indians who got put into jail, then they'd be in the jail for a year or more, for no reason except the arbitrariness of the British government. And one of his jailmates there says, "You might as well do something useful while you're in here. Why don't you study this book?" And that's how Nashawaan got his start in homeopathy. And he was, like Elaine said, a very gifted homeopath. I remember how when he would treat me, he would always go to Kent's, book, the big book, which they all use. He says, "Let's see what Kent has to say." So anyway, the stories of Nashawaan could go on all night. Okay. Number 6. I have drifted through my life as I've drifted through the millennia. Everyone I've cared for and everyone who has cared for me has been taken away. But now the beautiful one has come. I don't even deserve to think about seeing him, but it is far too late for that. I am his, and there is nothing that can be done about that. I am his, and I don't even know what to do about it, but to be his. There is no hope, and there is no life. There is only him. And how can I tell you, my friend, that the beautiful one has told me that all along I have always been his? I don't know how to understand such a thing, and I don't know how to explain such a thing either. He goes about his business helping every heart, and I am lucky to hold his hat or to wash his dirty clothes. He doesn't even have to speak to me, but he does anyway, as he shares his day with me. And every day I can say in my heart, because he has put the words there himself, he is mine, he is mine. And I still cannot understand this myself, but it is true. And what can I tell you now? What else can I tell you anymore? But that he is yours also.
That's a wah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's a wah.
Eric, would you read that last line? I didn't hear all your words. That's a.
I'm sorry, Cheryl. I did something I always hope I never do, and that is break up.
Yeah, me too. Wow.
Well, can you just read that last line, Eric?
Yeah, I'm trying to find where to.
You're trying to get through your tears.
Okay. And every day I can say in my heart, because he has put the words there himself, he is mine, he is mine. And I still cannot understand this myself, but it is true. And what can I tell you now? What can I tell you about anything anymore, but that he is yours also?
I think if you can't cry at a poetry event, you can't cry anywhere. So this is a good place to do it.
I cry every day, and they're not the pearls, but I remember Stephen Chev. I don't know, some of you might remember Stephen Chev. He used to live in New York and he would play the bell. Of course, Elaine, you do. And Tracey, very good. He would play the balalaika before some of our meetings. And before he played, he would always quote this one line of Hafiz where it says, "Oh, beloved, you should consider the tears that I weep for you as pearls." And every time Stephen would say this, I would think, well, I don't know about you, but my tears are not like pearls. They're just making the ground muddy at Baba's feet and dirtying his shoes, you know? Anyway, we all weep. What can we do sometimes but weep? Master of the world, master of my heart, you command every atom as if it were a soldier, and entice every lover who ever lived. As soon as you lift your sword, the battle is already won. Every person in every skirmish, every confrontation, and every pass in the dark just sits and settles in the grass as you walk by. Everyone watches as you enter the fray, triumphant from the sheer force of your love alone, your being as it spreads out over the fields. You have not lifted me out of illusion or gifted me with sight, but you have removed all illusions from me. Lord, you have taken your slave, your stumbling, inept, and sometimes disobedient slave. You have taken me and through love, made me into something even closer. And I don't know what the name for this is. Maybe I'm not yet fit enough to be your slave, except when your hand is on me. So now I follow you as close as a shadow, even in this land of shadows, like a living shadow, but blessed with form. So on those times you turn around, you can look into my eyes and make me complete. I have an embarrassing story about Alaba, not about Alaba being embarrassing. No, that's not what I mean. I mean about me being embarrassing. As any of you who've been to India know, that the rooms, as you're facing Mandali Hall, the rooms to the left are rooms that some of the men Mandali used to stay in. And when we would go there, the men weren't staying there anymore. Anybody who was still alive. Those were rooms we could put our bags in, or during a break, we could go lie down and take a rest in. I didn't avail myself of taking a rest very often. I usually would stay with the Mandali, either in Mandali Hall or on the veranda. But I remember a couple of times feeling compelled by the heat that I just had to just be horizontal and close my eyes. And one day when I was in there, I noticed on top of the dresser a bamboo Indian flute. And in those days, I used to play the penny whistle, among other things, back in New York. I was very interested in Celtic music, and I used to play the penny whistle. And without giving it a second thought, I picked it up and got a couple little tunes out of it. Alaba came in and he says, "Oh, you can play that. You're the first person who's played that since," and then he mentioned somebody's name who I don't even remember now, but now all of a sudden I became embarrassed that I was playing a flute. Why on earth should I pick up this? A flute is a very personal thing. You put your mouth on it, for God's sakes. Anyway, I was young and stupid. Anyway, So I asked Alaba where I could get one of these things because I was enchanted by it. I noticed wasn't the kind of flute that Krishna played. Nevertheless, because it was Indian and because it was bamboo, it at least made me think about the kind of flute that Krishna played. So I asked him where you got it. And he says, oh, it's very easy. They have it in the bazaar. There's a music shop there you can get it at. Now, this particular visit was my first trip to India. And I had already had an experience or two of the bazaar, and I was a little intimidated at that. I was 23, and even though I considered myself worldly, I was far less adept at navigating those kind of things as I imagined myself to be. And I realized that I was a little daunted about going into the bazaar. So Alaba said it's easy to get, and they then said, because I noted the Mandali did shopping, and I said, Alaba, do you ever go to the bazaar? I can't even imagine my asking him this question now, but I did. Alaba, do you ever go to the bazaar? And he says, yeah, I go every week. And so I said, would you mind picking up a flute for me? And he said, I'd be happy to. And it's, when I think about it now, I just want to crawl into a hole thinking that I asked a Mandali member to do shopping for me. Now, I was suitably embarrassed at the time, but not so embarrassed that I didn't ask him. Anyway, this is the flute that Alaba came back with from the bazaar for me, waiting for me my next visit to Maharasad. And every time I look at it or pick it up, I'm reminded of of my humiliation asking him to do my shopping. It's unbearable, and yet I bear it.
Eric, I think it's great you asked him, and I bet he was just delighted to get it for you.
I know that he was, but it's still asking him to do it is ridiculous. Sorry. This is a treasured memory, and it's it's a treasured, this thing cost in those, I mean, how much could it have cost in those days? I don't even think it cost a rupee. I think it cost an anna,
No, not that cheap.
No, well, whatever it was. Well,
Yeah.
Maybe you could tell me, Elaine.
I have no idea. But from that music shop, I bought the two-sided drum, which in Maharashtra is called a mridangam.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
called something else. The one that you see Baba playing in photos. I bought that drum and kept it for at least 40 years. And
yeah. Didn't Baba also love to play the dholak, the two-sided drum?
Yeah.
He was, that is something that I don't, well, I shouldn't say that because I guess I do have wishes, but there's a wish. I wish I could hear what it sounded like when Baba played the drum.
Oh,
I mean, isn't that more important than poetry? Imagining what it sounded like when Baba played the drum, it's almost unimaginable.
yeah.
In fact, it's beyond imagination and conception, right? Baba playing the drum. Okay. Let me see where I am.
Eric, could you play a little bit of the flute?
The most I can get out of it at this point is a sound. I'm ashamed to say that whatever musical, you see my hands, the arthritis in my hands, I really can't cover the holes properly. And you have to be able to do that to get a good tone. Also, my mouth doesn't work as well as it used to, but there you go. There's a note. And believe me, when you have the ability Even this little penny whistle can sound very sweet, but not in my hands anymore. Okay. I better hurry up because my last story is a little bit long.
Eric, since we only have 10 minutes left, would you mind sticking with poetry and we need to leave room for Fairstay? Would that be okay?
Oh, sure, okay.
Thank you.
No, don't do that on my behalf, because this is so beautiful.
I
I
can
just
skip
as
this.
soon have Eric have what
Okay.
he's planning.
We'll skip.
I had a couple, but I was thinking that to myself that
It's up to you, Foreste. I don't care.
no. I mean, your poetry. Honestly, Eric, I have to say something. This is your ode to the beloved who walked among us. And you know, Hafez was a perfect master. And your poetry is so touching and it's so present and so real and so incredible. I think you got Hafez beat in that department.
Well, I don't think so because, well, it's useless for me to say anything except I'll say this. If you get anything of Baba from it, I'm very happy, okay? What I can do is I will skip the story and just read the poems, okay? Because the story is definitely a little bit of a long one.
We want more poetry.
Yeah, so we'll read the poems. Baba, time marches on, but I don't want you to recede into the background, into time itself like some precipitous god, or even the most wonderful person in a wonderful story. I need to see the sleeve of your shirt, your powerful, compassionate eyes, the stubble on your face on the days that you don't shave. I know I neglect you, but I never stop needing you. Even the fish on the line doesn't always gaze at the fisherman. Please keep me alive long enough in the bottom of your little boat so that I may finally stop thrashing about and look at you without a break while the sweat drips off your chin. In this world of misery, we live for ideas, ideas of freedom, ideas of justice, ideas of peace, ideas of happiness. We are always at the mercy of the realities of this harsh world. And even though we imagine and long for salvation every day of every life, it is always unexpected when he appears, beyond expectations, beyond imaginations, beyond ideas, and even beyond salvations. He looks at us with such love, such destiny, that even in our endless dance of sufferings and deaths, he is so beautiful, that it's not necessary for him to displace death or alter the measure of our sufferings. We cannot understand this, even when we love him. But looking at him, looking at us, it no longer matters. And we somehow know something, even if we can't understand. Actors and poets may show us in their craft and play of words, grace, love, and humility. But when the play is over, they are unbearably stuck, condemned to the same sufferings, the same small triumphs and conceits as the rest of us. He has no mask. He does not play act to show a representation of beauty, nobility, and compassion. He is these things. He is one of us, even though he is us. I don't understand. I can't understand. I don't want to understand. I just want to look at him looking at me and hear the sound of his breathing as he embraces me. Please forgive us, Baba. The saint may crave the spirit, but we crave the nearness of your man form. I don't mean the nearness desired, but by what you have said was near devotion. I mean the nearness of knowing you are walking in the same world as us, that we could hope to see you sometimes and not just love you inwardly, not just love you in the people that we meet. Never mind the talk of your infinite being. It's because of your being infinite that we want to look at you, to touch you, to converse with you in your finite form. You have initiated the ultimate love affair. We could never not want you on this human level. Never. In future times, between your times, there will be those who love you far better than us. But you have given us a taste of the ultimate here on earth. Can you forgive us for not wanting less? People ask, Baba. You know they ask. You send them and they ask, who is he? Who is Meher Baba? And while I answer them honestly, without missing a beat as to who you are to me, the answer that keeps banging against the backs of my teeth is, he is the one for whom God himself is not enough. This unspoken answer, this blasphemy against all conventions is bound to just come out one day. You are such a beautiful paradox, and you know it, that this is the most truthful thing that I could ever say. And like a tree can't take back its apples after years of nothing but green leaves, it will only be one more evidence of the life you have given me. And one more thing, while we're out on this limb, it is only the having you that makes this life without you bearable. There is no help for me in seeking grace or wisdom from God. His care for me is far more present than ever I can ask. And he has already told me again and again exactly what he wants from me. His benevolence sustains me always, but his benevolence always has some small torture in it until he allows me to serve him at his hand. I am waiting without waiting, as he has his plans, and I have but this one. The weeds of my sins run so deep in my being, it is useless to try and root them out. He would have to turn all of my soil into light, and we both know neither of us wants that. Better for him to keep doing what he does, continue to keep me close as I keep on sinning and keep on weeding. One day, he will finally bring me so close that at last I can be where he lives out his life in this world and await his commands like honey to my soul. Bring water for his bath and water for his tea, again and again. I was born for just this one thing. Even before I knew him, he made me to know that. No reason existed for my life but this, and my sins will no longer matter then, or have any bearing on my days and life and what's in it. Oh, I'm sorry. And my sins will no longer matter then, or have any bearing on my days. And life and what's in it will have no other meaning at all, just him, his word, and the making of his tea. Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you.
They're lovely. Really, really just fabulous.
Eric, when are you publishing these?
Well, Jeremy's been after me to get my shit together and go through everything. And he said that when I do, he will do one of those self-publishing books. And when he does, I'll let you know, for resting.
It'll be great. Yeah,
I
each
believe-
one of them is really special.
Yeah.
Well, I thought 2018 was going to be the year. Then I thought 2019 was going to be the year. But then I had to devote my energy to moving here to Myrtle Beach. Then I thought 2020 was the year, but now 2020 is almost over. I don't even know where the heck it went. But I have been promising Jeremy, and I've been promising you and a few other people, and I will try and get them together. And there aren't that many. It's not like it's going to be a very big book, but hopefully, Baba willing,